Hello, viewers. Welcome to today's episode. My name is Dr. Jesse Kenywa. We are looking at topic how to formulate good vision, mission statements, and strategic objectives. When you are coming up with a strategic plan, we needed to formulate our strategy appropriately. Otherwise, we will not be able to accomplish our intended goals. And therefore, vision and mission provide directions and scope for the firm's activity. And a firm will need to focus where it is going. Whenever you are starting an enterprise, a business, or you are reviewing your strategy, you may want to focus to where you are going. There is this common adage that goes that failure to plan is planning to fail. So it is imperative that you plan your life even as an individual, or even plan for that organization or that firm that you have started as an entrepreneur. A firm also needs to focus on its core business. You need to know what is your core business. And the reason is that you cannot be a jack of all trades. If you try to do everything that comes and you find to be profitable, you end up being stuck in the middle, according by the words of Professor Michael Porter. So mission statement is critical in helping the organization to know what they ought to start doing now to accomplish its vision. Mission statement is the organization purpose or fundamental reason for existence. What is the purpose or fundamental reason as to why that particular business or organization was started? It is a broad declaration of the basic, unique purpose and scope of operation, distinguishing the organization from others. So you find that just as individual persons, organizations are also different. There are no two organizations that are the same. And the reason is that organizations have different vision and mission, and they have different resources. You will need, therefore, to provide a clear view of what the firm is trying to accomplish for its customer in a mission statement. So it indicates the intent to take a particular business position. A mission statement also describes the company's product or even service. What type of service are you offering? It also pinpoints the market and the technological area of emphasis in a way that it reflects the values and priorities of the strategic decision makers. A mission statement will help in providing a unique insight into an organization's value and future direction. When you start thinking about your purpose as the purpose of the organization, or the reason as to why the common purpose of the organization, you will also think about the core values of that organization that you'd want to be inculcated in the entire organization. So good values will help in steering the organization to greater height because it will create a good organization culture. It is what a firm ought to do now to accomplish its vision. So mission statement is what you ought to start doing now so that you can accomplish that long-term vision of the organization. A mission statement must be formulated carefully if the vision is to be realized. It means that you have to be articulate whenever you are coming up with a mission statement and vision statement so that you articulate what you want to accomplish in the future and what you ought to start doing now. So the following issues or questions would help us in focusing the mission statement. We would want to ask ourselves when you are formulating the mission statement, what is the firm business? You need to answer that question. you need to understand the farm business so that you can, the scope of your business. What are the farm's core values? We know that value leadership is very critical in an organization, because if a leader leads using by ensuring that the core values are being implemented, or they are being taken into consideration, then the entire organization will cater for all the stakeholders. How will the farm relate to the stakeholders, to the major stakeholders? You want to know how you relate to the major stakeholders. These are the customers, the employees, the government, which is also likely to be the regulator, and even the general public. You also need to ask yourself, when you are brainstorming on the vision and formulating this statement, what corporate policies should the farm adopt? You need to think about the policies, the corporate policies that will help the organization to accomplishing its vision. Vision statement. What is a vision statement? A vision statement is the ideal future of the farm. It is what you would want to accomplish in the long term. It is a dream reflecting the best of an organization. And it is usually incorporated in the farm's mission statement we have just discussed. And therefore, vision statement addresses the question, where do we want to be? Where do we want to be in the future? And therefore, it specifies what an organization could achieve if it performed everything perfectly. A vision statement, therefore, should be simple, it should be clear to everyone, and easily understood by every employee and anyone who may look at that vision statement. You should be able to understand where the farm is headed. If you look at some vision statement of organization, you will find that some visions are very clear, others are very long statements that you may not easily understand. So it is important to keep our vision very simple and clear and easily understood by anybody who may want to look at it. It ought to be distant enough in time to allow for dramatic changes. There will always be changes in the external environment, and you need to keep it a bit distant, but ought to be close enough to gain commitment from the human capital in the organization. The vision must be realistic. Whenever we are coming up with a vision statement, it ought to be realistic, it ought to be credible, and able to withstand hypothetical cause and effect examination. It must challenge the entire organization, meaning that it is something that will require some effort from every human resource to be able to accomplish. A good vision statement incorporates a level of standard of performance. It means that you need to give it some standard of performance. I'll give an example. One of the vision that I know is very short is that of British Airline, a world-class airline, meaning that their standard is global. Questions that help, you may need to ask some question to help informing strategic vision. You may need to ask ourselves, for instance, what business are we in now? You need to understand the business that you are in case you are already in operation. And if you are starting, you need to establish the business that you'll be in. You need to also ask yourself, what business do we want to be in the future? You may want to grow, and you may want to diversify. You may want to also think other areas that you may want to diversify into. What will our customer want in the future? You need to think about your customer and what they need and what they want in the future, so that you can start planning for your customers. What are the expectations of our stakeholders? So if you answer this question, you'll be able to formulate a good vision and mission statement. You need to think about your competitors. Who will be your future competitors? And even suppliers and partners. You need to look ahead and start thinking about the competitiveness of your business and how you can outcompete your competitors in the future. You may not be doing very well now, but in the future, if you plan, you can emerge as the dominant firm in the market. What should our competitive scope be? You need to think about your competitive scope. In which areas are you good at? You need to enhance investment in those areas where you have competitive advantage. How will technology impact in our industry? You also need to think about the industry, the future of the technology, and how the technology is happening or is coming up in your industry, so that you are not left behind when technology is advanced. So think about the advancement of technology and how you can tap into the technology. What environmental scenarios are possible? So if we think about those questions, then we are most likely going to come up with a very good mission statement and vision statement that will anchor our firm or our organization, so that whenever you are coming up with strategies, we will have good vision and mission to set our strategy upon. After coming up with a good vision and mission statement, you need to think about your strategic objective. So we'll therefore talk about how you can set good strategic objectives. Good strategic objective should first and foremost be measurable. It means that whenever we are coming up with the strategic objective, they need to be quantified. And you can do that by coming up with a percentage. You can give them some percentage of accomplishment, so that you'll be able to know how you're faring in the process of implementing your strategies. Your strategic objective ought to be acceptable to those responsible for the implementation. And that calls for the need of involvement of every human resource, or most of the human resource, in planning, so that they can also give their input. If they give their input, they will own whatever will be agreed upon, and they'll be ready to implement it. Strategic objective ought to be flexible, meaning that they need to be they can easily be modified to match changing circumstances or conditions in the market. In future, for instance, if anything happens, if there are changes in the external environment, a strategy cannot be cast on stone, and you can change your strategic objective. So they ought not to be too rigid. It means that you can change anytime if you feel that there is changes in the external environment that necessitates that you look at your strategic objective. They ought to be motivating enough, meaning that they are challenging. So whenever you're setting strategic objective, they ought to be challenging, meaning that we need the human capital will have to put a lot of effort for them to accomplish them. Otherwise, if you come up with a very easy to accomplish objective, then it will not serve the purpose. They ought to be consistent with the other objectives. So you cannot have an objective that is being contradicted by another objective. So when you're formulating certain objectives, they ought to agree. They ought to be in harmony also with the vision and mission statement that you have set for the organization. You cannot come up with a certain objective that also contradicts the vision and mission statement. They ought to be capable of being developed into strategies and action, because the intention of coming up with strategic objectives is to formulate strategies that will help us to accomplish those goals. So strategic objectives are not end to themselves. They are meant to help us to formulate strategies and action plans to accomplish our long-term goals. They need to relate directly to factors that have been discovered in the external environment through SWOT analysis. After you have done SWOT analysis, what are the strengths and weaknesses that you have seen that you have discovered or have seen to be there in the organization? What are opportunities and strengths that are in the external environment? Which are areas that we can set strategic objectives? Strategic objectives usually are set on key aspects of the organization, and you can think of setting strategic objective in the following area. The first area is profitability, because in organizations that are for profit, their intention is to maximize profit and to be able to satisfy the stakeholders, the shareholder, and any other stakeholder. So profitability is key, and you may need to set strategic objective on profitability, and you can also give it a quantifiable variable, for instance, a percentage, that maybe after 5 years we want to have increased our profitability from where we are to, let's say, 50%, from 20% to 50%. So you also quantify it. You can also set strategic objective on productivity. If you are in production, you want to increase productivity, and therefore you can set one strategic objective in that area. The competitive position. What is your current competitive position? You could be like 10 firms in an industry, and if you look at the competitive position of the firm currently, you could be number 6, but in the industry, but your plan is to be maybe number 2 in that industry. So it means that you need to improve your competitiveness in that industry, and you can also quantify your competitive position. You can also set strategic objective on how you want your human capital to be developed. Maybe currently you want everyone to achieve a certain professionalism, level of professionalism, and therefore you will want to encourage your human capital to go for retooling, for further studies, for instance, to develop their skills further. You may also want to look at the employees' relation, because if you don't have a good relation with the employees, they are very key in production. They are the ones who are going to relate with the customers, and if they are not satisfied, they are not motivated, you may not end up accomplishing your objective. So you may want to set a strategic objective on employees' relation, trying to minimize cases whereby there could be dust reaction in the organization, by ensuring that you are listening to your human capital. Think about technology. Technology is key, and you can also plan alongside or along the line of technology. What do you want to accomplish in the future when it comes to technological advancement? you can also think about it. Think about corporate social responsibility. You need to give back to the community, to the society, and you may need to come up with a percentage. For instance, previously you are only giving 2% of your income to back to the society. You may want to increase it to 10% in the next 5 years. That is something that you can also think about. Think about, set your strategic objective also along customer care or service. You may want to talk about customer satisfaction. What is the level of customer satisfaction as at the moment, and how do you want to improve it? From what percentage to what percentage? That's another area of setting strategic objective. Quality. The quality of the product or service is key, and you may want to improve the quality of the product so that you can have your customers satisfied, and you can set your strategic objective along in that area. Growth, the growth of the farm. As the farm grows, it means that you have put some effort for that to happen. And you can look at, for instance, the market share. You may want to give a percentage, for instance, of the market share, that after 3 years, we want our market share to increase from position 5 to position 2, or position 3, or position 1. So the growth is another area that you can think about. So setting good mission statement and vision statement is the starting point of focusing our organization, our farms, our businesses. And if you set good strategic objectives, then you'll be able to think about the most ideal strategies that will help us to accomplish our strategic objective. So it is the starting point, and if it is not well done, you find that you cannot accomplish much as a business or as an organization. So thank you so much. Remember to hit the like button and also hit the bell as you subscribe for more episodes. Thank you, and God bless you.